tell you a story tonight about my dad and my dog. But first of all, you have to know a little bit about my dad, the kind of guy he was. He was friendly, outgoing, pretty entertaining. He liked to tell stories, he could tell a good joke, loved to sing at parties. But he was also very passionate about things. He loved the Phillies. He lived and died with the Phillies. He was even there at the last game of the World Series in 1980 with tears streaming down his face saying, "I've waited all my life for this, I can die now." But he had real strong opinions about things. For instance, one time he told my mother to stop buying Brussels sprouts because in his opinion, Brussels sprouts were, in his words, the biggest fraud ever perpetrated on the American people. Okay, Dad, it's a vegetable. Brussels sprouts, take it easy. But he was also funny. He really enjoyed humor. And one of his favorite comics was Jackie Gleason. He loved The Honeymooners. That was probably one of his favorite shows. If anybody remembers, Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton was his sidekick. So anyway, it was only fitting that when we got our first dog, we named him Norton, after Ed Norton from The Honeymooners. And Norton was just a little mutt, just a part Cocker Spaniel, part Toy Doberman, just a little run of a dog. But he was, the only thing was that when Norton would bark, sometimes he would get into this mournful kind of howl, which I thought was pretty cool. It was our first dog, and I loved the howling bit. I thought it was pretty special. But not everybody saw it that way. So anyway, we would go to Avalon every summer because my parents had a house there. So we would go for the entire summer. And one particular Saturday night, my parents were going out to a cocktail party, and my brother, who was home from college, went out to work at a local restaurant. So I'm the last one to leave the house, and I don't want to stay home. So I'm going to go to the boardwalk with some friends, and I decide it's a good idea to leave Norton on the front porch, in the screened-in front porch, because he'd probably like the ocean breeze. That'd be nice for him. So I'm the last one out. I leave him on the porch, and off I go. So about 10:30 that night, I'm coming home, and I can see down the street to our house that no lights are on, so I'm not going home. I'm going to go over to the party where my parents are, which is at my cousin's house, 2 blocks away, and I'll just hang out there until they come home. So I go over to the party, and that's in full swing. My dad's singing, people are having a ball. So I just hang out with my cousins. It's about 10:30 at night. Next thing, about midnight, my brother walks in, and he said, "I got home from work, and Norton is nowhere to be found. He's not in the house, he wasn't on the porch." So I went out to the corner, and I started screaming for him at the top of my lungs. And our neighbor on the corner came out and said, "Stop calling for your dog. The police have taken him away." Okay, Norton has been arrested. So my father hears this and is livid that Norton has been arrested by the Avalon police. So my brother hops in the car, goes to pick up Norton, and my dad and my mom and I walk home, and my dad calls the police. He said, "I'd like to know why you took the dog off our front porch tonight." "Well, sir, we had a complaint. We had to take him away." "Well, you went into my property. You opened the door and took the dog away." "No, sir, the door was ajar." No, that door was not ajar. If that door was ajar, that dog would have been long gone." "Listen, sir, that's what happened. We're not going to argue it with you." "All right, I'd like to know who made the complaint about my dog." "We can't tell you that, sir." "Well, I think I have a right to know. I'd like to know who my dog is bothering. I think you need to give me that information." "Well, sir, in fact, it was an anonymous call, sir." "Anonymous? You mean to tell me you follow up every anonymous tip that comes in? I'm not buying that." Well, the phone call ended. My dad was not happy. The police could have cared less, I suppose. So my brother returns with the dog, and my dad is hopping mad about this whole situation. So Ed comes in the house with Norton, who is no worse for the wear. He seems fine. So next thing you know, my dad takes Norton and goes upstairs to the deck. There's a deck that is above the porch. Second floor looks out on the street. My dad goes out on the deck and says, "All you worms, crawl out of the woodwork. If you have a complaint against my dog, talk to me, John R. Trainer. You don't need to call the police. Norton, if you want to howl, go ahead and howl." And with that, as if on cue, Norton begins. "Ow!" Next thing you know, my dad starts howling. Norton's howling, my dad's howling. Now the lights on the street start going on, and some neighbors start coming over because they'd like to know what's going on. It's about 12:30. They start coming over to see what all the hubbub is about. Now, the police pull up. My dad's howling, Norton's howling, neighbors are coming over. So my mother runs out to the car, and the police say, listen, lady, if you don't shut your husband up now, we're taking him away next. So my dad and Norton come in off the deck. Everybody quiets down. They have another drink, talk about the conundrum of what happened that night. And from then on, my dad and Norton were known far and wide. Norton for being the only dog in Avalon who did jail time, and my dad for having no regrets about letting everybody know what was on his mind.